That you have, you cannot keep up for your own with the technology, for example. Okay, that's a good example. Others?
I would just get complacent.
You would get?
Complacent.
Complacent?
Yeah.
So what does it mean?
We could kind of boil really become repetitive, and that I would start cutting corners, just getting not diverting enough attention to the issues. I just like, you know, if you do the same the same class 10 times in a row, it starts to get really and then you start cutting corners, making yourself easier, and that's the point where your might go down.
So when you start making it yourself easy, or
I think complacency, boredness, laziness.
okay, boredness, yeah.
Right. Yes, if you're, I think the teaching the same course over and over and over. If you're always teaching freshman English instruction or freshman, composition, each time you teach it, you either go one or two directions. You say, how can I spice this up? Because you're getting bored with it, or how can I make this really quick so we can get through it? And that's where the danger lies, is that second option.
So routine
yes.
job then.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Right. So the danger of waiting until the need arises before you actually do something, as opposed to assuming that the need is going to arise and let's do it now, because then we'll have it ready.
Not also that, but mag ik even in het Nederlands ook? Maar
yeah.
Dan maakt het gemakkelijker om eigenlijk met die uitzonderingen om te gaan. It's more easy to work with these exceptions if all your work is organized in a way that you can handle in a fast and structured way.
Others?
No commitment?
No commitment?
At the management level. So you don't have a buy-in at the management level, then I think UDL practice will not stay alive. I think you need the management level in.
You don't have commitment on the management level, or no?
Yeah,
the
policy.
I was thinking about the same. I think in my job, I can lose my ambition, because at the management level, they do not choose, or they don't go with the UDL ID. So I think maybe, I hope not, but maybe I can lose my ambition.
Right.
Your motivation or your...
Well, because also a sense of isolation,
yes.
of not feeling supported, exactly. or that the people who are supporting you are at the same level that you are and don't have the power to affect the change from here down.
Or maybe the opposite. Now we have to do this.
Yes.
Then told.
Great.
To not stay alive.
Yes. Danger in being told what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just a job you have to do, and you don't understand why it's a good thing to do. Yeah.
I don't have the time to implement it. I like the ideas, but you have got to have some time to change your mind and your lessons and all.
Absolutely.
Time has the main problem.
Right.
Yes.
When you focus on the workload instead of the gains or the wins you go, then it will die, I think. And when you wait until everyone is with you, then it will die too.
Yes.
Focusing on the possible negative things, or on the
yes.
Time it might take to implement, or what one has to do, or
Perhaps a wrong experience.
You have bad experience with it, or
Perhaps you have a wrong experience.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think sometimes as well, getting to know the technologies, like somebody said, takes a lot of time, but you also sometimes need to spend a lot of time in deepening the theoretical aspect, and then you sort of get frustrated where you should actually focus on.
You are frustrated because you have to...
Because yes, there's so many more things. I mean, because technology also develops so rapidly, like the first person says. So then, but also, the more you read or learn about your own subject, you also know you know nothing. So you run out of time altogether, you know?
Okay.
Yes, you get very frustrated.
Okay.
And then also everything changes. Like now it's UDL, but maybe in 10 years' time it's something else. And
Absolutely.
in the end you have a sort of an idea, you know, we can go on forever, you know?
Had a question?
Yes, and for the university, research is considered to be more important. So you will not put too much time into preparing the courses.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, just one more.
Thinking that people that don't learn the way I do are not smart enough to go in higher education.
So the problem is in your thoughts and in your mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
It's not really in the brainstorm, but it's something that we talked about, discussed in the paper, and that's really important as an answer to how to keep it alive. We have the students who we are training to be a teacher, and I think that's important to train them in UDL to keep it alive.
Okay. But we are coming to that, the brainstorm is not over yet, so
I was too
the
fast.
next thing, so now we have a list of what can cause a problem of not staying alive, and the thing we're going to do now is to find ideas to solve the problems or to prevent the possible problems, so we can really work towards solutions, and that was already one very good solution. So I give you just an example. If you say you can say for your own, perhaps I can be I'm going to speak Dutch at the end of the day. I can be too quiet about UDL. You say I know a lot about it, but I'm not spreading it. And the solution is then I have to communicate more about it. For example, and you make for yourself a list where you can more communicate about UDL. So that's one example. So perhaps when you look at the list, or do you have for yourself solutions to the problems you gave yourself? So on the list there is, for example, I cannot keep up with the speed of the technological evolution. Are there ideas to solve that problem? Or how you can start with that?
Also keep in mind that technology can facilitate universal design for learning, but is not dependent on it, because flexibility can come in many forms. It can come in how students are grouped to do tasks. It can come in whether it's a writing task might alternate writing tasks with oral presentation, where you give students an option to speak where they might not have the capacity to write effectively. And you're also going to discover that some students don't want to speak at all because public speaking is the last thing on earth that they ever want to do. But it's thinking about keeping in mind that technology facilitates UDL, but is not really, the two are not codependent.
So perhaps I just list some things of the list, and then you can think and give ideas about that. So not keeping up with the speed of technological evolution, you lose your interest in your own courses because it's routine for you. Okay, that was that you will wait till there is a question or a need, and that you don't do it in advance, or that management is not committed, or that you as a teacher perhaps lose your own ambition because you're not supported. Perhaps it's obliged, and then you also lose, you don't find it, you don't see the need to do it. You also have perhaps lack of time to implement it, or the focus is on the workload and not on the gains, or you can perhaps wait too long for hours.
For allies.
Okay. Perhaps you have to wait too long for allies, so you are on your own. So perhaps that's a long list. Do you have any solutions? Yes.
Maybe we shouldn't strive to be too perfect, but if we just do a small percentage, we try small, we can grow maybe to something large. The will to just try and try together and not be afraid to make mistakes and then to get up and go on.
Mm-hmm.
Just try and just do something small and then go further.
Let it grow, yes.
Okay.
But really being convinced of doing it.
Yes.
And that's preventing the boredom, maybe, because you change a part of the course every year and so
Yes.
you do something and you make it better bit by bit.
It's a very good idea. Yeah. You change one thing and then you see, hopefully that it works, and then you do another thing. Yeah.
To use internet or Facebook to give information to colleagues about it, or suggestion to colleagues, to communicate with colleagues who do the same, or do similar things.
Yeah, and there you find your allies to do it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think from my job as a caretaker, point out that the solutions or reasonable adjustments that we give can be used by different types of persons. For example, if you can make it possible that someone who can follow a course by a video on Blackboard or something. It can be for the working mom with the children, she can study in the evening, but it can also be for someone who's very sick and can't come to class, or someone who does sport on a very high level and must be in foreign countries for some games or something. So I think that's very important to point out that solutions can be used by different types, and that's not an exception.
Yeah. So that's the solution for you were saying that it's just when there is a problem or the one student who needs it, then you do it, but you can say it's good for other groups also.
And you can take the same solution again and again and again. So for time management for teachers, that can be an argument to put in the work.
I think somebody already said here, I can't remember who, but maybe we already all do it a little bit without realizing it, so that just sort of heighten the consciousness that we should do it more, or maybe just do it if with a time factor we could like say in a week, and you have like, I don't know, 13 classes, and if we just do it like say apply it or develop it further in 4 or 5 classes, then we're already going somewhere and exchanging with colleagues as a colleague here at the table said, and learning from each other, and
Okay. Yeah, so very good. Yes?
I was thinking about what we talked about earlier about keeping up with technology. In my experience, the students are far ahead of all the teachers in terms of keeping up with the technology. So maybe you could involve your students and in testing out new technology and figuring out which works, which is just a waste of time. And so when you can involve the students, they will probably think it's funny, and then you can all benefit from it.
I was thinking our students are all different. One is very good in writing things, the other one is very good in understand something very well if he sees something or if he does something, but that also counts for us teachers. So we can't be really good at everything. Right. So maybe we would all benefit from kind of a group work where one colleague who is very good in presenting things visually could do this with little effort for more colleagues, and one who is very good in writing or could also do that for more colleagues. So we could all benefit from each other's strengths and kind of not waste time trying to find something that we are not really good at.
Right.
Okay, very good idea.
So just some final thoughts. How to sustain something like UDL. It has to meet a need. If it's not meeting a need, then in fact people see it as something that's ancillary or unnecessary or at worst a burden. So it's identifying what the need is and then putting a reference to UDL as a potential solution. So at lunchtime we were talking, and I was sharing some examples at what's currently happening in the States right now. There are basically 3 populations of institutions of higher education. There's the state university and private university system. There's then the private college system. And then there's what's known as community college. All the money these days is going to community colleges because they offer, in most cases, 2-year certificate programs. They are a stepping stone towards a bachelor's degree and higher education. But they are siphoning students from the university. So in my town, the University of Southern Maine, which has roughly 10,000 students, has seen a decline of 30% of its applicants in the last 10 years. That means staff and faculty are being laid off because of that decline. The community college in my community has seen a 150% increase in its student body. So you have a clear imbalance, and you know that where students are going here, they're not going there. So looking at that from a competitive angle, the key at the university right now is engaging students, first of all, drawing them in. The second is retaining them once they're there, because just having a student be a first-year student is no guarantee that they're ever going to finish. Or even finish out the year. And so the third aspect is really persistence. Engagement, retention of a student, particularly in a course of study, and getting that student to persist. So identifying those as problems and challenges for the university, it's really looking at ways to look at those through a UDL lens and say, what can we do to make this environment more appealing, more flexible to the needs of students coming in, more authentic, and so it's the engagement, it's representation, and it's multiple ways for students to express themselves. So I'm just using that as an example, but I think you have to look at the demographics of the university as a system and see if there are connection points between a need that already exists and where UDL may be offer a solution as a framework. And it doesn't work for everything. Obviously, it's not a panacea, but it's certainly an approach that could be connected to some challenges. And then in the long run, that actually is what ends up sustaining something because you get large-scale investment of that. Okay? Okay.